From our studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River, here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
So if you're not concerned about losing your job in the future,
oh boy,
you better be listening to this show because, wow.
You will be.
Almost everybody is going to be on the chopping block in the future. It's just crazy how much job disruption is going to be going on in the future.
You know, I had an uncle. He was a kind of an Archie Bunker type, but every once in a while he said something very wise and profound. And one time he said, we were sitting over coffee, me and him and my father, and he said, you know, we're going to get to a day in this country where the only people who can get work are the really stupid people working for nothing and the really smart people who are going to be rich.
Sure.
Everybody in the middle is going to be out of work.
Yep. And I don't know, we're going to talk a little bit about that, of course. I don't know if we're ever going to be at that point, Jim. By the way, everybody, Jim Walsh, producer extraordinaire.
Hello.
So, but I think, things are going to change at such a dramatic rate. And we're going to talk about why that's good and why maybe that's not so good and who's going to get impacted by all that stuff. But you and I were at the age that maybe we don't have to worry about this so much anymore. I mean,
well, when we were kids, we used to see those public service things on TV, people like Hubert Humphrey talking about how important it was to stay in school and finish high school.
Right.
This was 50 years ago, and they were saying finish high school because machines are going to be doing all the unskilled jobs.
Right. And, that is actually going to come true now.
Yeah.
We have a lot of machines doing those type of things now, and that's just going to proliferate like crazy over the next few years, But yeah, and I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but I mean, even in this industry, the radio industry, automation and AI, artificial intelligence, has become a significant part of just the broadcasting industry.
And not entirely for the better in our industry.
People would, I suppose the management would disagree with your statement because they're always looking at the bottom line. Right.
Some would.
But I suppose what's happened is because some stations have integrated artificial intelligence and that type of thing into their stuff and become competitive, the rest of the stations to stay with them be competitive in markets and whatever have to do the same thing.
Well, a lot of radio stations now are they're kind of turnkey walk-away operations.
Right.
They have the music pre-programmed and they have the announcers pre-recorded.
Yeah, you do. You come in the morning yourself.
We call it voice tracking.
Right, you voice track everything, so you see everything. Not to give everybody a lesson on how this works, but Jim, when you're on your sister stations here or whatever, I mean, you may sound like you're live in another studio right now.
Well, part of the time I am. We kind of mix it up here. But there are obvious late shifts on the weekend, that kind of thing, where, who wants to be here on a Saturday night?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm giving away the dirty little secrets of but we have a couple of satellite shows on the weekend, of course, that are fed to us by satellite from another part of the country. And we have the capability, although we do kind of mix it up. When I fill in for the morning show, which I'll be doing this week after Wednesday, I'll be doing that live because in the mornings you got to be live. You got to be live and local.
I agree with that.
And what's happening, it's interesting you bring this up because in Houston, of course, they're dealing with the hurricane right now, and it's a real mess. And frankly, a lot of radio stations in that town really dropped the ball because you tune in for live. If there's ever a time when the radio can really serve a purpose.
Yes.
When everybody's going to be listening to the radio, it would be during an emergency like that.
Yes.
The one thing that radio can do that a podcast cannot do is give you the emergency information as things are developing.
That's correct.
We kind of saw this last night with the story about the young lady who's they found her body in Fargo.
Right.
And I'm not making light of that, but I'm saying it's a thing where radio can jump right on that.
Yes.
And to their credit, the stations in Fargo, like KFGO, who fed the information to us, they were right on it, but not so much in Houston. They really dropped the ball. A friend of mine who's in the business was tuning in the Houston stations. Of course, everything's available now online. You can hear everything online. And he said most of the Houston stations were in their regular programming, either canned, pre-recorded music shows or, God help us, infomercials.
Yes.
And this in the middle of the worst hurricane that a lot of people can remember in their lifetime.
Right. Right. And, you know, I've been in certain situations with emergencies in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, as we all have probably.
We get them here.
Yeah, we get them here.
We had the flood.
We had a tornado 2 weeks ago here, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're kind of on the fringe of Tornado Alley, but technically we're there.
But I remember, I think I was downtown Bismarck, and I was looking to the north, and I'm like, wow, that almost looks like a funnel cloud up there.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden I see it drop a little bit farther. It took, and I'm not picking on any stations at all in the area, but because everything is canned, like you said, right, voice tracked, whatever, it took a half an hour before you started hearing, you know, live. You know, everybody started getting called in, I suppose, to cover it. But
1270, we have somebody on call at all times.
You do.
At least one person. We kind of take turns being the person on call if there's an emergency.
And I'm not picking on the industry; it's just how it is. But that, you know, you get into an evening hour where everything is already recorded for the day or whatever, and there is nobody at any station anymore.
Well, maybe we should pick on the industry. So, I mean, we remember the whole Minot fiasco from about 10-some years ago, involving a radio station that we won't mention on the air.
Right.
Not us.
Yeah, but you know that just so there's good and there's bad with all technology. I guess we didn't mean to get on our high horse about radio right now, but
we can toot our own horns a little bit.
We can. We are live, and we are talking. Yes, but we also plug the podcast stuff on this show because
we do.
Most people listen to us that way.
It is did you see that new survey that came out according to, I think, Nielsen, who they now do radio surveys as well as the TV surveys. Yes. But somebody came out, I thought it was them, that came out with a thing about a week ago saying 50% of all American households now listen to podcasts at least once a week.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is.
I'm amazed it's that low still.
That's just.
I would think it'd be more.
Well, and maybe it is. You know, I know. Actually, I know Todd Cochran personally. In fact, with Blueberry, I mean, we're a part of the Blueberry Network here. He is like the godfather of podcasts.
Yeah.
Based out of Hawaii now, but his company is, I think, based in Wisconsin. The Blueberry Network.
Now, is he a host? Does he do a show?
He does his own show. He does I can't believe I can't remember his show, but he set up this format for other podcasters like you and I and whoever else called the TET Podcast Network not too terribly long ago, and that grew into Blueberry, and Blueberry is like the premier format
which
now,
we are a part of.
We are a part of.
Yes.
Premier format for podcasting, and has many hundreds of very well-known podcasters and radio talk shows like us.
There have been a few podcasts that have really become cultural events. Not many, but a few.
A few have, yes.
There was a thing called, I have to abridge it, S-Town, the S word.
Yes.
S-word town.
Yes. That
it was kind of an ongoing, continuing saga in like a half a dozen installments.
Right.
That came out about a year ago. And there was one before that I can't remember. Something about somebody being on death row. It'll come to me in a few minutes.
Okay.
And Dan Carlin, another guy, does the history shows.
Yes.
He's great. I love that guy.
Well, I think, just like anything else, people want content on demand.
Yeah.
So, we're getting so used to that with our TV networks and that type of thing that it's a natural progression for these type of shows to be as well. So.
You got to promise me we'll try to get Dan Carlin on the show.
We should do that sometime. That'd be great. So, all right, everybody, we're going to be talking about who's going to get disrupted with technology. And if you think you're an attorney or a doctor or an accountant, you better stay tuned because you are going to be shocked.
Currently at 72.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank everybody who follows us on the Blueberry Network. We're also on the Tech Podcast Network, things we're just talking about right now. iTunes, Tuned In, Roku, Apple TV, and our own app, Radio Pup.
Yay.
All kinds of places that you can catch us live or follow us or listen to us later. In case you missed something important.
On demand.
Yeah. Don't try to write something down if you're driving down the road right now.
Not in this state. They'll fine you $100 for that now.
Just listen to us later. You can always catch us later. So
yeah.
We were just talking about how automation is going to be changing a lot of things. Jim, you had one story before we get into the top 10 jobs.
About the geezer, you mean? Or?
Yeah, but before we get into the top 10 jobs that are going to get lost in the next decade, tell me
the
a little
geezer
about
was
the
just
geezer.
telling me about the good old days when he was gainfully employed as a buggy whip salesman, and on the side he sold whale oil candles.
Oh, nice!
Until Thomas Edison put him out of business. Hey, Tim Edison. Thanks, Geese. What was the other thing we were talking about? Oh, we were talking about the podcast.
Yeah.
The guys who are the big stars in podcasting. I mentioned Dan Carlin. You mentioned
Todd Cochran.
Yep. Would Cochran be an example of a guy who actually became a star in podcasting?
Yes, he would be.
As opposed to guys like Carlin, who already had a built-up following from radio and other media.
Todd was in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
And then, seen an opportunity, I guess, to get into his own type of thing, talking about technology or whatever, not unsimilar to what we do now.
Well, I would think being in the Navy, he'd have a good background on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they are so high-tech now, it's ridiculous.
And I suppose, I don't know how he ended up in Hawaii. Most of his company's over here with the Blueberry Network.
Probably the Navy.
But right.
Harbor,
But he must have fell in love with the area or whatever and decided to stay there.
Do.
Yeah. So I suppose he was looking for an opportunity where he could stay there, and it just turned into be something, And he's had like GoDaddy has been his sponsor forever.
Excellent.
So he's figured out a way to make a living doing this and grow this, and then grow it into something that actually has become kind of a household thing.
Now, what does he talk about? Oh, well, you said technology.
He talks about technology himself, but his platform, the Blueberry platform, has everything. Mm-hmm. There's a tech area, there's a lifestyle area, there's home and garden, there's all do-it-yourself.
Right.
I mean, all these talk shows, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm booting up my Galaxy S6
there
Android.
You go.
I've got a couple of these apps on there.
Oh, for
our competitor across town, they have their own app.
Right.
The Bleep Radio.
Yes.
And we have Radio Pup, which is through Town Square Media.
Right.
Which when they first put it up, of course, they had a few bugs.
Yes.
It's gotten better. If you tried it before and it didn't work for you, try it again.
Yeah, it's actually
because
pretty good.
They've updated the whole system.
And I I use Radio Pup all the time when I'm traveling, so I can listen to the show or whatever, Well,
several of my favorite stations in the country are Town Square Media stations.
Sure.
We have one of our flagship stations is a talk station in New Jersey. Fantastic station, and I listen to it on Radio Pup all the time.
Yep, cool. All right. Well,
TuneIn Radio. I'm sorry, that's the one I was trying to think of. We're on TuneIn also.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the top 10 jobs that are going to get lost in the next decade.
Hold your breath.
I know this list really is something. So first on the list is insurance underwriters and claims representatives. So if you're in the insurance business, the effects of automation on the insurance industry are already being felt. Japan, one of the mutual life insurance companies has recently replaced 30 of its medical insurance claims reps with an artificial intelligence system based on IBM's Watson Explorer. So the software can analyze and interpret all of your data, including unstructured text, images, audio, and text. So if you send in your claim, it can actually listen to. You can just on the phone, it'll listen to you. And I'm sure you've probably had some limited conversations with AI on the phone already. You call your bank or whatever, and you go through this.
It's very annoying.
It is very annoying. But what's interesting about it is it's becoming better and conversational, and that's what's going on here. You'll say something, and then it'll prompt it to ask other questions, and that's what's going on here. Is that those conversations, they can determine, what the claim is about or whatever, and it eliminates these jobs. So if you're in the insurance industry, you better watch out, because you're probably going to get replaced by artificial intelligence. Bank tellers and representatives.
Really?
So this is, you think about this, and you always wondered about this. Will the ATM ever replace bank tellers, or has it already?
I would think it has to some extent.
Well, so when's the last time you went to the bank to get cash?
To the bank to get cash? It's been a long time. Usually, wherever you are, you find an ATM. You drive through. We got a bank right next door to the
Yes.
building here.
Yeah.
And if I need cash in a hurry, I can walk over there
Right.
in about 30 seconds, and I've got it.
Right. What I find interesting about the scenario with ATMs is the same scenario to me with like bottled water, right? It's for free everywhere.
Yeah.
You can walk into the bank and get cash out of your bank.
Well, it's
for
not
free.
free. If you're taking out $20 and it charges you $3, as some do, that's kind of ridiculous.
That's the whole point, isn't
Yeah.
it? Isn't it funny that they have figured out a way to monetize how a free service that you got inside, they now charge you $3 or $2 or whatever.
Well, then it becomes a thing, and a lot of people will do this. You have to find one of your own bank.
That's correct.
And then usually they don't charge you.
That's correct. Your own bank does not, but a lot of times, especially if you're traveling, I mean, good luck trying to find a local bank. That's which I guess is one of the reasons why maybe a national bank sometimes is nice to have.
One of the local banks in town used to run a great commercial tweaking another bank, one of the national mega banks we have in town, which we won't mention by name.
Yep.
Wells Fargo. But anyway, they were kind of tweaking the way this mega bank does business,
Right.
where there's a fee for everything. There's a girl in the stagecoach and, representing a certain brand, symbolic logo. And she wants to get off the stagecoach. And the guy's going, well, there's a fee for that. And then she gets off and they throw her suitcase. And then there's this friendly guy from the local bank there to kind of pick her up and help her along.
Right. And that's generally how it is.
Yeah.
If you're, also in banking, if you're in the loan department, this is going to get very interesting in the future. In fact, right now, I'm trying to remember the last time. I'm not saying I haven't taken local loans out of my bank in the past, right? And they're wonderful to work with, right?
Yeah.
But I think more and more people are going online to go through that process, whether it's through your local bank or through a major lender or what have you. So because it's convenient, you can do it at 2 in the morning if you want to or whatever.
Oh, really?
Well, of course, because it's all artificial intelligence. You just
need a loan. I don't know why you need a loan at 2 in the morning, but okay.
Well, I'm just saying if you're thinking about buying a car, for example,
Yeah.
and instead of going through the process when you get to the car lot, you get yourself pre-approved before you even go there, or for a home loan or any of this other stuff. So you can, maybe you work till 1 o'clock in the morning and you decide
that's
that
true.
you want to work on this when you get home.
Maybe you're a third shifter.
That's exactly right. So
I don't know how wise that is, though.
I'm not sure either.
I question the wisdom of, to a point I can understand. You can get a lot of information, but the actual transaction, that's kind of where I draw the line.
And I think, and I agree with you, but I think it's generational, Jim. I think that maybe you and I and the age bracket that we're in, we're always going to be working with people. I'm just telling you, I'm the same way. I mean, I like to work with people. Right. That's exactly right.
I resemble that remark. Thank you.
But the younger generation has no problem with this. They'll hop on their phones, and I've seen this happen before. They'll get a car loan on their phone when they're at the car lot.
Right. Okay.
Because they have the technology on their phone to do that.
Okay.
So more and more people are doing that. So anyway, it's approximately 90% of what the human being can do in the bank right now is going to be automated. 90%. So you're going to have banks that will probably have skeleton staffs in the future, just a couple people in there. And the staff that's in there is probably going to be managing the AI that's going on, the cash dispensing, and you might go into the local bank in the future, and there'll be a kiosk there that'll ask you the information you need on the loan that you need.
Well, there will be people working behind the scenes.
Yes.
Just the nature of the work will change.
That's exactly correct. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. Number 3 on the list is financial analysis. So all these people who you buy your stocks through, all of this stuff in the future, these jobs are just
investment counselors.
They are basically going to disappear.
Wow.
So if you're in that industry right now, you better be prepared. All these companies who have, I won't say stockbrokers, but these analysts, you're right. You're people you go to that you trust for investment.
Yeah, you set up a retirement fund.
That's exactly right. Right. All this stuff is going to be moved to online, and you'll just be filling out your stuff online. You'll make your choices there. AI will give you, if you're an aggressive investor or if you like to be safe, they'll give you these different choices. And quite frankly, most of the analysts that are out there now rely on AI right now. They look at their reports, And they say, this one's got great growth going on over the last 5 years or 10 years. This is where you want to be, or this is an up and coming that we were really going to tell you about. Right now we think in the next 30 days is a hot stock to buy. So
we're coming up on a break. Do we want to go ahead and do the top 2, or do we want to keep everybody?
We
in
have
suspense?
another 7, so we'll go to the break, and then after the break
okay.
we'll continue.
We're
only on number 3 here. So
okay, right. You're right.
Of the top 10. So
Monday ahead.
Yes, it's all about Monday. So after the break, everybody, we will have 6 or 7 more of the jobs that are just basically going to go poof.
Yeah,
in the next 10 years.
God, I was thinking I was going by real fast.
It was going by way fast.
Currently, it's 72.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we're talking about if your job is at risk to be lost from automation, AI, all that good stuff. We were just going through the top 10 jobs that will probably be lost in the next decade. And just a quick little recap. As I just lost my page here, Jim. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Well, we talked about bank tellers.
We did. So insurance underwriters and claims representatives, bank tellers and loan officers, all of those people, very high risk of losing their jobs.
And financing people or investment consultants.
Investment consultants, those type of people. Because, again, all artificial or AI, artificial intelligence, basically these are just smart websites or kiosks that you're going to see or be able to do. So, and a lot of people who are, if they're investors already, are probably already doing a lot of this. You hop online and you make your choices, whatever. But AI is going to get better and better and better. They're going to be able to predict trends and all this other good stuff. So next one on the list is construction workers.
Whoa.
And you would think that job would be pretty safe, right? Because, we always need roads. We always need homes. We always need buildings and all this other stuff that goes with it. But what's going on is that there's a lot of robotics being brought into this stuff. So a machine called SAM, the semi-automated mason, can lay 1,200 bricks a day.
My father's a bricklayer, and you would think, having seen his work close up, there is some real craftsmanship there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wonder how a machine could possibly replace that.
But you could state that, and I'll just go right into the other area here is 3D printers. So 3D printers there's actually a 3D printer that is large enough to print a home and has done so already. So you say that about the craftsmanship, and you're absolutely right about that, right? But I looked at that 3D home, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how cool is this? Because there are things that maybe a person can't do that a machine can do. The different cuts and because there's no such thing as a cut anymore or whatever. It's all lasered and printed and it's amazing.
Well, until they figure out how to print out a whole house at one shot.
They have done that.
Still going to... Oh, they have done it?
Yes, that's what I was getting to. They have done this already.
It comes out in parts, and you still have to have somebody put the parts together.
Nope.
No?
Nope. It's a big machine that sits on the property, and it just goes womp, 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 and does the whole thing.
Big old house just jumps right out, boing, and there it is.
There it is, So this house took about a week. Now, they still had to bring in somebody to install the windows and doors and stuff like that, but the framework of the house was done in a week. It was just there and ready to go. It had to be, I'm not even sure if it wasn't, I'm not sure how they painted it or whatever, but there were some minor things that had to be done. Of course, inside they had to do a few things, but but the actual making of the house was done. So and so you're going to have to be prepared. Our roads too. I was just watching, even here in North Dakota on the interstate, there's this huge machine that's rolling on the interstate right now that basically lays down the whole road at one time.
Right.
Unbelievable.
They can do it a lot more quickly than years ago.
Yeah. Most of the work right now is in the prep time. It's not the actual putting down of the road anymore. It's in all the prep time that goes into it. So, and that's going to be all robots in the future as well. A lot of this stuff that we're going to see is all going to be robots doing it. So.
Well, the old Lincoln commentary, if you have 10 hours to cut down a tree, spend 8 hours sharpening your axe.
Right.
And so the big jobs in the future are going to be the people who are the axe sharpeners,
that's correct.
I guess.
Absolutely. So next on the list, inventory managers and stockists, as they state. So basically, people who stock shelves in grocery stores and things like that, just going to disappear. If you're doing that type of warehouse type of work where you're pulling stuff out of the back and putting it to the front in a retail, from a warehouse to a retail environment, that's going to go away, because there are robots now that are designed to start going up and down the aisles in stores, and they do inventory control. They'll notice if there's a item that's mismarked. And report back, or just change it. They will say, you don't have enough cans of peas out here, so it'll go and grab peas and restock it for you.
Amazing.
So all of those type of jobs are going to, and of course, a robot can wander the store aisles 24/7. There's no retirement to pay, no overtime, none of this stuff. So
no breaks, no bathroom breaks.
That's right. All of that stuff just goes away. It'll just keep the stock shelved, or the shelf stocked with stuff, and make sure that everything's properly marked.
Still, you'll need somebody to program the robot.
That's correct. And we'll be getting to that. So absolutely. Farmers. Oh my goodness. So this is pretty amazing. Farmers are being replaced by AI robots that can do everything from milk cows to pull lettuce. And I love this. A family-owned dairy farm in Germany is one of the first to install the voluntary milking system. It's a robot that allows cows to walk up to the machine at their leisure to get milked. So when the cow is like, all right, time to get milked, it can just go up to the machine and gets milked. So none of this, these cows standing in line. Have you ever gone to a dairy before?
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's crazy that they all know about what time it is they're supposed to get milked, and they all line up and they do this thing, right? Well, now they can just if they're feeling like it's time to get milked, they just go to the machine and it'll milk you. It's pretty crazy.
Now come on, Elsie, time to get milked.
That's right. So they're just going to get milked by robots whenever they feel like it. 1 million of the U.S. farmhands could see their jobs replaced by artificial or intelligent machines that do everything from weed cabbage patches to pick apples.
I think of Looney Tunes with the goofy little robot that's really nothing more than just a couple of, looks like a couple of sticks with hands on it and with white gloves, running around doing all this stuff.
You think about that. 1 million people in the next decade on farms are going to be replaced by robots. And when we only have 350 million people in the country, and I think only half of those people work. You have people that are under the age of 18 that don't work. You have the retired.
Young,
that's
sick,
right, whatever it is, right. So only about half of our population works. So you're talking about just under 2% of the population of the working population that does this type of work. 2% of that's going to be gone.
Yeah.
That's significant when you think about it.
Well, there are people who have suggested that we could be headed for an economy where more and more people don't have to work.
Right. And we'll be, I guess, hopefully we'll have enough time to get to that here shortly. So taxi drivers, the next thing. My numbers might be off on that. I guess that would be less than 0.5%, but not 2%.
I saw where Uber got a new head honcho over the weekend.
They did. The person that came over from a travel company.
Right. Travelocity?
No, Expedia.
Expedia,
yes,
you're right.
Yes, yeah. And speaking of that, that's exactly where we're going. So taxi drivers are just going to be gone, just absolutely gone, because Lyft, Uber is already replacing most of these, and especially in areas that were underserviced before, right?
Yeah.
But as autonomous vehicles come out, basically ride sharing, and Uber and Lyft and these other companies are excited about this because the driver is just going to be gone. You're just going to summon up an autonomous vehicle that will pick you up, and it will be less expensive for you to ride in these. That's what's crazy about it, because you don't have to pay the driver anymore. So you're going to pay less for the ride, and Uber and Lyft will make more money on it because they have a bigger margin that they can work with.
Yeah, so, I know we've talked about this. We already have trucks, commercial trucks on the highways with no drivers.
Well, they're not quite to that level yet.
There's a few. I mean, it's not mainstream yet.
It's being tested,
right?
So there's always a driver behind the wheel, but that's where it's going to.
There are prototypes.
Yes, and that's the other thing. Is that truck drivers. People, again, you're my age. I'd say that 40-plus area, you're probably okay with truck driving. If you can end your career and you don't have to, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, you'll be grandfathered out.
Right, right. But probably when you retire, they're not going to replace you.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, because they will just replace you with an autonomous truck. you'll be able to get work or whatever until you retire, but that'll be that. So, and that's another. Truck driving is one of the large. I mean, they employ 1 million people plus too, in this country. So. And of course, trucks they claim will be safer. I mean, I would tend to agree with this. I've ridden in autonomous trucks myself. I've been in many autonomous vehicles, and you get to a level of comfort in them to the point where you're just, you and I will have a conversation while the car goes down the road by itself. I mean, it's fantastic in that regard, and of course, getting work done, and it's safer because you're not on your phone and texting and playing with the radio and eating and everything else while you're trying to drive. So. There's all that, but if you're a taxi driver, if you're in any type of public transportation, and I would even include in this like bus drivers, school buses, I think are going to be automated as well. I mean, there are a couple bus companies already that are coming out with these automated buses, and they run a route, and that's all there is to it. So, absolutely amazing. Manufacturing workers is another one. There's all kinds, and this has always been with probably the number one thing with technology, with especially robotics, is that more and more people get replaced by robots in factories.
Well, we already see that the assembly lines in General Motors.
Absolutely. Journalists. This is a crazy thing. They expect that AI, artificial intelligence, will begin to write stories for us.
Oh, really?
They will see news events going on, that type of thing, and you might have one person or two people that might pipe in on something, or they'll follow Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and they see a story break out like the hurricane in Houston, and AI will start writing stories and distributing them off.
A lot of newspapers now are down to like one or two guys for the local beat, and
they are already doing it.
Syndicated in.
That's exactly right. So it's just getting more and more. And the one that's probably the most interesting to me is movie stars.
Oh,
yes. So, and you've seen this already in the Star Wars Rogue One. Carrie Fisher appeared as the 21-year-old Princess Leia.
Right.
That was CGI.
Oh.
And you're going to see more and more of that. You're going to see our old movie favorites are going to be either reconstituted or and we've talked about this, like the 3D version of, or the holographic Michael Jackson, for example.
Holographic Elvis.
Yes, we've talked about that as well. So movie stars, people who are breaking into that, and music and all this other stuff, it's going to be harder to break into it because you're going to be actually competing with people who are not even here anymore. So anyway, after the break, everybody we'll tell you about how you can combat this job loss. So come on back.
Right now it's 77.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Well, if Jim and I have thrown you into despair over the fact that you're losing your job now.
Yeah.
Maybe we have. I'm not sure. But I would say that people who are listening to the show are probably wondering, my goodness, I'm going to lose my job.
The people who are going to be concerned about this are the people in the middle. Because if you're old enough, you're facing retirement, you're not going to worry about it.
Pretty much that's true.
If you're young enough, you're thinking, well, I'm flexible. I can, change majors, stream or whatever, and go with whichever way the wind blows. But it's the guys in the middle who are going to get stuck.
Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. So, but all is not lost. I will tell you that right now. All is not lost. In fact, I couldn't tell you. I'm actually more excited about the future than I am about where we're at right now when it comes to jobs.
Good.
And I'll explain why. So I'll give you an analogy, and we're going to pick on the cell phone. Okay, so in 1973, Martin Cooper, senior engineer at Motorola, called a rival, and I love this story, he calls a rival telecommunications company and informed them that he was speaking to them on a mobile phone. He calls his competitor and tells them this, right? So a phone call in 1973, right? And so the phone, and I'll just give you a little, that phone weighed 2.5 pounds, 30 minutes of talk time, took 10 hours to charge.
Yeah.
It's funny how it's still the same, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you see in those movies, those old
huge things.
Movies about the Vietnam War where the guys had the walkie-talkies.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're big things.
Yep. In 1983, the first mobile phone went on sale in the United States. Cost $4,000.
Yeah.
1983. 250 million Nokia 1100 devices were sold. It was the best-selling electrical gadget of all time. one model of a phone. I'm not talking about, like we always talk about the VCR being in 98% of the homes, right? But there was a Sony one, there was a Panasonic one, they were all this. The Nokia phone, the 1100, sold 250 million pieces, just that one phone alone. More people in the world have mobile phones than toilets.
Okay.
Think about that. So many Facebook photos and videos are uploaded via mobile that it takes 27% of the upstream web traffic. Just by photos and videos to Facebook, 27% of the uploaded stuff coming into the, using bandwidth is because of mobile phones now, because of phones, or because of photos and videos. The technology behind smartphones relies on 250,000 separate patents. So the phone that you and I have in our hands right now, Jim, over 250,000 separate patents are in this. Isn't that something, right? Yeah. The average person unlocks his or her smartphone 110 times each day. So why am I bringing all this up? Because since as of June 2016, 2.2 million apps are available in the Android store. Apple has over 2 million, okay? Those apps come from someplace.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, people have to make these. Apps such as Uber and Lyft have put people to work.
Right.
Products such as Bluetooth, headsets, phone cases, all this other stuff come out of this phone, right? So a phone call from a mobile device in 1973 started all of this. All of this. You could say that a landline, a traditional telephone company, they're going out of business, right? They can't compete with this anymore. Do you know of a millennial at all, Jim, that has a landline?
Not too many.
Yeah, most of them grew up.
I don't. My wife and I, we got rid of ours.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
And I think most people are in that boat. I mean, so more and more people are getting rid of their landlines because you have a cell phone that you
got to where the only people who call us were telemarketers.
That's exactly right. So this one device has employed millions and millions and millions of people. It has put, I don't know how many people, I need to investigate this. I'm sure it's put hundreds of thousands of people out of work.
Yeah.
Right? But it has employed millions and millions and millions of people.
Right.
And why is this important? It's because this is what happens when you have a technology that replaces something else. So if you make other things around it, because if that technology makes other things less expensive, that always allows other things around it to crop up. That's just how it always is, So as we replace bricklayers with robots, those robots need to be serviced, right? And because we have bricklayers that are robotic, maybe it drives the cost of housing down, right? Mm-hmm. So then people who can't afford to buy houses can now afford to buy houses because the cost of a house drops. Let's say the average cost of a house drops $100,000 because of automation, because you can 3D print the things now and you don't have all that labor in it, right? So all of a sudden people are moving out of apartments into homes. I'm just throwing this out. I mean, and that elevates the economy for these people.
Yeah, new technology does create jobs.
It does. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And so if we're in for a technology revolution, whatever, evolution, whatever you want to call it, right? And we're going to be totally disrupted. Everything's going to get totally disrupted. That means there are going to be just crazy amounts of opportunities in other areas.
Well, the challenge is going to be in the education system, the schools.
Extremely challenging.
They're going to have to catch up.
I don't know how you catch up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other show there.
It is. You have to have a scenario where your schools are teaching critical thinking. That's all there is. Problem solving, all this other stuff. Because I'm going to guess that if you're a millennial, you're probably going to have 7 or 10 different careers in your lifetime. Because the job that you take now is going to be changed. It's not going to be. It won't exist a decade from now, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to reinvent yourself over and over and over again. Well, the only way you can reinvent yourself is by just deciding that this is the way it's going to be, and you have to become a problem solver. You have to, whatever that means. That you're just going to have to be able to adapt.
It's another generational thing because most of the people in our generation, and you and I may be exceptions to this rule, because being in a business like this, radio, which is so transient, you jump from one job to another. Right. We kind of are, used to it.
Right.
But a lot of people aren't. A lot of people my generation, when I got out of college, a lot of people saying, yeah, I'm going to go work for the DuPont company and have a job for life. And back then, that was the case.
That was the case.
Not anymore.
There are a lot of people that...
My parents always saying, get out of radio. You know, you're changing jobs, go work for DuPont. You have a job. I mentioned DuPont because I grew up in Delaware.
Right.
And they say, go work for DuPont, you'll have a job for life. Well, not anymore, you won't.
Right. Yeah, things have changed a lot. And even companies that have been around forever are going by the wayside or just have to adapt to this type of stuff too. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. But I will say that everything is not, it's not in despair here. I mean, you will have opportunities. We can't even tell you the kind of opportunities that you'll have because the jobs aren't even created yet, Jim. That's what's crazy about this. And you have no inkling what 10 years from now is going to be like.
Well, I think the best thing anyone can do is not to buy gold or Krugerrands or any of that stuff, but to invest in yourself. Take courses.
That's a good idea.
Get books that learn about the options that are available.
Sure, and just keep yourself as best educated as you can.
Yes.
And education, like you're talking, is going to have to change too. I mean, there's no doubt that if you're going for a 4-year degree, you might not need to do that anymore. Maybe a technical school that maybe you go in for a 9-month course, right? Learn coding in 9 months because 10 or 15 years from now, you're going to have to go back and learn something new again that you might need a 6-month course
Well,
for.
I'm the first one to admit, and I have a couple of degrees, business degrees, and I'm the first one to admit there are some very valuable things that college cannot and will not teach you.
Sure. Yep. And I mean, and they're a business. I mean, you have to look at it. I mean, they're in the business to keep
a lot of teachers are losing work.
They are.
When I went back to school, I took at least half my courses online. Never saw the teacher's face.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, if you elevate yourself, even in that role, to a position where you can, where you're an esteemed, person in that particular field, you can teach thousands of people in a day now.
Yeah.
With the technology that we have, you don't have to be stuck in a classroom where there's only 30 people that you're lecturing to.
Yeah, it'd be a great line of work. I've been trying to get into it, but it's very. I mean, there's a lot of people going for the jobs.
That's correct.
Right now.
That's correct.
Teaching online.
Yes, but again, that teaching online. In order to create that, you have all these technicians and whatever behind the scenes so it creates all these other types of jobs. Yeah. So it builds on itself. So, I know that, if you're an accountant or whatever, and I'm telling you right now that 10 years from now, you're probably not going to be needed. But there will be other, maybe it's consulting for a software company.
Yeah.
Because those software companies are going to need to know people in your industry that so they can write software for it. I mean, that's what's going to happen here. You're just going to become those type of people, and you may have to shift your thinking a little bit as far as what your job is going to be.
Well, you and I will be out of the picture by then, so
we will be.
In the long run, we're all dead.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Jim, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
This is probably one of my most favorite topics to talk about because. Things are going to change.
It's so important.
It is so important.
Very important.
And things are changing in a great way again. And again, if you want to listen to the show, make sure you hop on to thetechranch.com, Supertalk 1270. Jim will have that up in a short period as well.
Day or two.
Yep. And I think that's all we got for the day.
We're good to go. Thank
you
again. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, Jim.